Media Creator Guide 2025. This is going to be a video outlining what I think are the best strategies for media creation on the internet and how you should go about doing it with the sort of changing landscape of social media and internet stuff going on right now. Now you might be asking yourself, like, Luke, like, why the fuck are you qualified to make this video? And to be honest, I'm probably not, but I haven't seen anything like this on the internet. So I'm going to try to do it. Just a bit of context, like I've been a big consumer of media for probably the past like 10 years of my life, ever since I got my first iPad when I was like 12 years old. And I'm talking like 6 to 7 hours a day of media consumption. And 10 years of doing that really gives you a good picture of like what works and what doesn't. And I feel like I have a good idea of what the best strategies are for creating media moving forward. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, part one, introduction. So the first thing, this might be a little bit funny, but like I really hate the term content, and I want to stop using it. Like every time I hear the word content creator, it kind of like just pisses me off. So I want to switch it to be media creators. I think media is like a lot better of a term. Like it covers like a much wider range of different stuff. Like for example, like if you're doing fine art or music, like I wouldn't consider like stuff like posts about that if it's not like including your face or like any sort of like personality. Like I don't consider that content. Like I just consider that like a form of media. So that's why I want to switch to the idea of media creators, because it's a lot gives you a lot more options and kind of doesn't like limit you to like one sort of box of like being a creator, so to say. And yeah. So what does it take to be an interesting person in 2025? So I don't know if you guys know this guy that's on the screen here, but this is the most interesting man in the world from like the Dos Equis ads of like the early 2000s and stuff. And this guy was claiming to be the most interesting man in the world, but what did he do? Like the only video you ever saw of him was him either drinking beer or hanging out with chicks. So I don't really understand why he's the most interesting man in the world, but it's interesting to think about that, right? Like, and why that sort of ad campaign worked for Dos Equis. And I think that to be an interesting person in 2025, you have to be a master of a certain like area, discipline, or like subject matter. And this is important because like everything, there's so many things in the world and there's so many different sort of things you can do, like hobbies, sports, like, and at the end of the day, like you got to be good at what you're into, right? Like if your passion is music, like you better be fucking good at music. You better be good at playing whatever instrument you play. If you do art, like you want to be the best like artist ever, you know, like you want to create good art that's like new and like has new ideas and like that people haven't seen before. And I think that this is like one of the important things about being a media creator is like honing in on whatever specialty or like area of your choosing. And it could be anything you want. Like it doesn't have to be something that other people are doing. Like it can be weird. It can be like out in fucking Narnia. Like who knows? Like just you got to be good at what you do. And I think about the 10,000 hour rule, right? Like I forget what book it's from, but someone wrote that like to master something takes about 10,000 hours, and I agree with that fully. Like 10,000 hours is a long time, and you can definitely master a skill or like a different subject in 10,000 hours of study on it, right? And if you think about how long we have in our lives, like we only have a certain amount of time. Like I did the calculation, and like over a 60-year lifespan from like the period of your like maybe like 15 or 20 to like when you're old and retired, you probably have about 175,000 hours to learn and produce and like do stuff, right? And this is like just using like 8 hours a day for those 60 years. So that's not including like your sleep or like any time you have to like relax. Like that's like the working time of your life, like 8 hours a day for 60 years. So then if we extend this point further, right, like if you have 175,000 hours in your life of working time, like if you do the math, like if mastering a skill takes about 10,000 hours, like you have enough time to master a lot of skills. And I think that it's better to be more multifaceted and have different things that you can do and be able to be an expert in multiple fields than just like a one-trick pony, you know, like, because also like there's a lot of crossover, like there's a lot of things like skills, hobbies, like different things you can do that will mastery of that subject will help you become better in another area, right? Like for example, I realized recently that I took guitar lessons for like a couple of years when I was in high school, and I kind of stopped playing once I got to university. Like I didn't really practice at all or do any guitar playing for the past like 4 or 5 years, but I did start rock climbing. And in rock climbing, one of the important things is like finger strength and like skin strength, because when you're like crimping holds, like you gotta like you're all finger like getting those holds, right? And there's constant friction on your fingers, so like the tops of your fingers kind of get a little stronger. And I've noticed that coming back to playing guitar, like my guitar playing has really gotten a lot better because my fingers are a lot stronger, my skin is stronger. Like when I go to play like chords or like play for like half an hour, like my fingers don't hurt like they used to. And I'm sure like if you just practice guitar and like really tried to play guitar a lot, like you'd probably end up with the same result. But it's just an example of how like two very different things might actually benefit each other when you do both of them simultaneously. All right, so let's move on to part two. And this is, I'm going to discuss platforms. There's a lot of different platforms, and some of them come and they're great, and like some of them fall off and disappear into obscurity. But I think that using more platforms is definitely better than using one, because everyone is different. Like people have different sorts of styles of like ways they consume media, and not everyone is going to be a guy who's on YouTube 24/7. Not everyone's going to like Instagram, for example, right? Like some people like TikTok, some people don't. So I think that it's really good to diversify what platforms you're using and try to create your content and like not content, media, and put it on as many different platforms as you can to reach the most amount of people. And every platform has sort of different pluses and minuses and like different types of media that work better with that platform. So for example, like Instagram is great for like single photos, short videos. Like if you think about reels, like the sweet spot for reels is around like 5 to 10 seconds, and you can get up to like 1 minute, and anything longer than that probably isn't really great for Instagram. And then that kind of transitions into like YouTube, and I think that the sweet spot for YouTube is between like 5 and 10 minute videos. Like anything longer than that, like if you're up to like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like people are gonna get bored, and like nobody has time to sit down and watch like a 45-minute YouTube video all the way through. Like that's just ridiculous. But yeah, and then if you go think about like something like Snapchat, right? Like that's more of like a friends-based interaction sort of platform, right? Like it's more informal. Like you're texting your friends, you're sending them pictures. Like you have your stories, which are designed to be shown to your friends, or even if you have like a private story or like a public story, like you can kind of change the audience of what you're posting. And I think that Snapchat is great for stuff where maybe it's a little bit more like risky, like not something that you want a lot of people to see, but like something that you'd probably be comfortable showing your friends. Because you can really like scale up and down the privacy of the stuff you're posting, right? Like if it's under a private story, like you could pick like your 10 closest friends and just show it to them. Or if you want to share something that's meant for all your Snapchat friends, then you can post it on your regular story, right? So yeah. One more quick point here on platforms. I want to talk about like live streaming and like Twitch. And I don't know if like people that are going to be watching this are into Twitch and like into live streaming, but there are forms of media that lend themselves very well to live streaming. Like think about something where you want to see like a live process of like what a human is doing. And examples of this could be like obviously playing video games, and that's like the main thing that people do on Twitch. But recently, like it's the category of like just chatting has gotten a lot more popular on Twitch. And this is kind of just like any form of like video that's being streamed, right? Where it's just kind of like a person sitting with a face cam, like doing anything, right? So one thing that I've seen that's pretty cool is there's this guy who is streaming himself like in like a studio, like recording like rap music. And that's like a very interesting thing to watch live, right? Because that's kind of like when you think about listening to like rap music, like Future, like any sort of like big rapper, like they're always talking about like, oh, these nights in the studio, like we're in the studio forever, like just grinding away in the studio. But like we really don't get to see the kind of behind the scenes of that, right? Or like see what that's like to be there. So I think it's interesting to be able to show like that live process to an audience, and show them how sort of like studio time works and how rap music is made, how different like beats and like music is produced. So that's another interesting point to kind of think about. All right, let's move on to part three. And this was going to be called The Ugly Truth. This might be a bit of like a touchy subject or like a bit hard to listen to, but I think it's important for people to like know this and like realize it. And you probably already know this, but in forms of media where like your face and like you yourself are going to be sort of at the center, like people who are physically attractive are just going to innately outperform those who aren't. And this might be like a tough pill to swallow for some people, but like it's the truth. And yeah, but the good news is that like anyone can improve their physical appearance with enough like time and effort. Like you already know like what it takes to do that. So I don't know, but I don't know, like you don't need to create media where you're at the center and like your face is like something that people are going to be seeing all the time, or like you're shown like doing things, right? Like you can create media that has nothing to do with you. Like it can be completely separate from you as a person. It can be completely about that thing that you're trying to show off to people, right? So you don't need to be I guess like a super physically attractive person to be successful in media creation. But if you yourself and like you are going to be at the center of that media, then you're definitely going to be at a big advantage if you're like physically attractive. And the bad news is like a lot of the media forms that are popular right now, like think about like influencers and like lifestyle content, like lifestyle media, and like maybe like fitness stuff like that, right? Like it's going to be a lot easier if you're a physically attractive person. And another thing that sucks about this is like women are just going to be hit a lot harder by this than men, and like that's just kind of the way it is. And like I don't know, like it's not my decision of why it's like that. Like it just is what it is, you know. So just another thing to think about. All right, part 4. This is like the final and most important part of this video, and this is gonna be titled "Stay in Yo Lane." So when it comes to creating media, like the most important thing is finding the right audience, right? Like if you're into something weird, like let's say you're into bird watching, right? Like there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to give 2 fucks about bird watching. Like people are not going to care. So unless you find like an audience like that is really into bird watching, like for example, like my grandma loves watching the birds and like she knows everything about all the birds, but if she like talked to me for 30 minutes about birds, like I'd probably get bored after the first 5 minutes. And like, I'm sure a lot of you would too. But that being said, there are probably a lot of people in the world that are really into birds and really like birds. Like there's probably whole Facebook groups dedicated to like bird watching, right? And the important thing is just being able to show your media or your videos or whatever you're making to the right audience, right? So that's why like it's important if you're doing Instagram, like Instagram Reels about like a certain sort of subject, like making sure that the people who are following you are people that are going to like actually want to watch that content. Like for example, like skateboarding, like I have a lot of friends that are skateboarders and like into skateboarding, but I know not everyone that follows me is going to be like going to want to watch that, right? So that's why like I don't post like a lot of fucking skateboarding content on my main Instagram page, because I know like people probably aren't going to want to see it. But if I have an account with everyone that I know that skates and like follows that, then that account will do well, and those people will like the posts and like they'll interact with it and stuff like that. So one sort of like historical example that I want to give you is like in like ancient, like I don't know, like Rome, probably like some like ancient Roman Empire, right? Like they had this thing called the Circus Maximus, and they had these like huge sort of like events and like spectacles for like that were aimed to be the ultimate form of entertainment for like the general public. And this is something that is meant to be viewed by everyone, right? So like think about the most ridiculous and like insane video you've ever seen. Like I know might be like a bad example, but like think of like the Twin Towers, like watching the planes run into the Twin Towers. Like no matter who you are, like that visual of seeing that happen is very, very striking and impactful to anyone who's watching it. Like no matter what you're into, it's so like the magnitude of that, of what's going on in that video is so great that like you almost can't look away. Like it's that crazy, right? And that's kind of what the Circus Maximus was, like the ultimate form of sort of entertainment for the masses. And when I think about the modern day equivalent of that, like you can think about like a Mr. Beast video, right? Like the stuff that they do in those videos is like utterly insane, like giving away millions of dollars, like having people like sit in a circle for like 2 days. Like it's just ridiculous. Like it's the kind of stuff that like even if you had no previous knowledge of Mr. Beast or like what he was doing or like what his channel was about, you'd see the video or like the thumbnail or the title and be like, whoa, like what the fuck, like I gotta watch this, right? And that's sort of like one avenue you can go down with media. But I also think that entertainment like that's just like displaying sort of crazy things, is probably like not that, doesn't have that great of a positive impact for society. Like because at the end of the day, you're just taking you're just farming people's attention, and like getting them to watch something that realistically like is maybe going to entertain them in the moment, but not really going to have any like long-term impact on like what they do or like how they go about their lives. So just another thing to think about. Okay, one last point I wanted to add was just like how you determine like who your audience is and like if you have the right audience. Like if you're pushing a sort of video to people that aren't into it, like the most likely outcome is that they're going to be like annoyed or like not want to watch it, and it might kind of piss them off. And this is probably something you want to try to avoid. And it's really easy to tell what people like and like what they're going to be into. Like you can, if you talk to someone for like 5 minutes, you can probably get like a pretty good picture of like what they're into and what they like. And the equivalent of this, like if you're not in person, like talking to someone face to face, like just looking at their Instagram page, like you can tell a lot about someone based on their Instagram. Like it's pretty easy to tell. Like a person's Instagram page is like really like a reflection of like them as a person, kind of like people that don't really care about it, like, and it's a little more low effort. Like you can tell like, yeah, maybe they don't really care about social media, and like that's cool, like, you know, rock on. But whatever, people that are super into it and have like hundreds of posts, like they probably live on the internet and are really tapped into a lot of internet shit. So just, you could probably like be like a bit like be a bit of a investigator, you know, like you can kind of figure stuff out if you really think about it and you think critically about what you're doing. All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing what people have to say about this. Like leave a comment, give me any feedback you might have. If you disagree with like any points I made, let me know. I'd be happy to engage in conversation about it. And yeah, have a good weekend, and I'll catch you the next time I see you.